It's you. You're not the star of the show.
Oh, hi, everyone.
Wow. Well, welcome, pescatarians and art lovers of all kinds. We are here to draw with you, with each other, with ourselves. Welcome to Draw With Me. And thank you so much for sending in all your fishes from last week. Beautiful. So many of them. Many metallic. Many gorgeous.
Not from last week, from 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes, so we were not here last week because we were diseased.
Oh man, first cold in, I think, 3 years.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Oof.
So we were pretty sick and we're not anymore.
We're back.
I still sound a little congested, I think.
Yeah, but we feel good.
Yeah,
and you know, when you haven't had a cold in forever and ever, it takes a while for it to completely resolve. But my goodness.
It was tough. But we're back and we're ready to draw with you again. One thing that I did want to talk about, and I think it's pretty big news, which is that we are going to be doing a new workshop for the first time. And when was the last time we did a workshop?
The last one we did was in January.
Wow.
And we were plumb tuckered out after having done one sequential once a month for over 26 months in a row.
Yeah, so
we were a little tie-tie. So we took a break.
We took a break.
We shored up our energy, and my goodness, we have the most unbelievable roster of artists lined up for the fall. Really good.
Yeah, we have really great people, but we're starting with, I think, somebody who's kind of different for us because I think he is just a real trained classic master of watercolor. And what we're going to be doing is well, let me just show you.
Yeah, they say.
I just love that. I think, what?
I know, it makes me kind of want to cry, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just shows you really what watercolor can be, how emotional it can be, how rich it can be, how it can capture kind of the inside of a person. And, you know, Mario is really, he is part of a great tradition going back a couple hundred years of really realist watercolorists, going back to Turner, really, but certainly Winsor, Homer, and Wyeth, and just people who do thoughtful, beautiful watercolors. And honestly, for me, that's kind of a revelation that it's possible for me to even approach something like that. Because you see me watercolor on the show. It's just sort of, I don't know, I just kind of grab it and fool around with it. But when you watch somebody who really knows what they're doing and you see the care, it's just a beautiful thing to watch and to see how, I see how you get to that place, right? So often that happens with great art. You look at it and you go, that is so beyond me. I just have no concept of how that came about. And then when you get the chance to see the process and to understand each step of the process, suddenly it becomes possible.
I mean, what was the biggest factor? Going slowly.
Going slowly. I mean,
I will admit to you, Mario goes slowly.
He does go slowly. He says normally he takes at least a week to do a watercolor like that. At least a week. But of course, we don't have a week to do a workshop, so it's going to be one of the longer workshops we've done. Is going to be, I think, 4 hours in total. But it is a gradual process of layering and building up shadows and tone, and then only at the very end does he actually introduce color. It's amazing.
I mean,
it's so great.
We should stop talking about it because I want people just to like accept they need to attend this.
Right.
So nothing we can do to convince you other than just say you will miss out on something very special. And I mean, we only work with the very nicest people, but Mario is so delightful.
Such a nice man.
Such a gentleman.
Yeah.
Such a gentleman. Really just a special human. And Winsor Newton introduced us to him. So we thank them for that. And
he's teaching. He lives in
Alabama.
He lives in Alabama right now, but he was living in New York. But now he's teaching at the New York Art Academy, which is basically focuses on this sort of classic way of painting and drawing. And he's teaching there. He's in fact.
I mean, we're just so lucky to have him.
This week he's flying up there. So
yeah.
So
I think we can't. If we shouldn't. We're no more explaining. Just sign up, people.
Right. So if you
I
haven't,
did it.
You did it.
People.
You see.
It's contagious.
But
if you don't sign up for this workshop, then
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't love watercolor, it might not be for you, but it's.
Who doesn't love watercolor?
Who doesn't love watercolor?
But I think what I also talked to Mario about, because I said, look, you're operating at this level that seems unattainable. And he said, absolutely not. Like, I am going to make this class for somebody who's never done watercolor before. I'm going to make this class for somebody who hasn't even necessarily ever drawn a portrait before. And so that
I mean, how cool would that be if you've literally never done either of those things and then the first thing you make is this?
Done.
That is like Instagram, right? You like just one Instagram.
That's what they call a brush drop. Yeah. So
all right, let's
move on.
Yeah,
but you get the point.
You get the
point. We're probably going to talk about it some more.
You get the point. You get the point. Yeah.
So let's just.
And Spark members get it free, but you guys already knew
Spark
that.
Members get it free. So this week I'm going to be drawing in a Nostalgie Sketch Book, which is by Hahnemühle, and it is it's to me my favorite, just straight out drawing paper. It's the best for me. How many are we giving away?
We are giving away 3. I'll post
three of
it in
these.
the chat.
So these are the 3, and they're nice and big. They're great sketchbooks, and if you'd like one,
I mean,
write
they have like very flowy paper. They're flowy paper, wouldn't you say? Like smooth,
but also thick.
Yeah, it's quality.
Can you hear that?
It's quality.
All right. So yes, write to us, info@sketchbookschool.com. If you're in the United States, send us your mailing address. We can't email you a Nostalgie Sketchbook, so
we also can't send them P.O. Box because they come in UPS. So send a mailing address.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But you can write to us in our P.O. Box if you want to, if you want to bribe us. But yes, and we have various people. Like here's Polenta Pot.
Nice,
who won
nice
something.
name.
What did she win? I wonder, or he, or it.
The book and paper are lovely.
Have we ever given a polenta pot or any other kind of cookware or anything? I don't think so.
Come over and make us dinner.
Just a Hahnemühle book. We don't know what it is exactly. So yes, well, polenta pot. I'm glad that you liked it. So write to us about it and just say I'd like it. Here's why, or not. Generally, because JJ ultimately decides which ones go into the random selection. You have to woo her a bit.
Well, I'm trying to spread the love around.
Exactly. Loves to be spread. So
okay.
We have Down on Pilly, who's in India. Don't be sad. India is a wonderful place to be from. And I'm sure you will enjoy drawing in something. I don't know.
Wow.
I know, good answer. Right, but I love India. In fact, my mother was born there, so there you have it. What else? Winsor Newton is also sponsoring this. We're giving away some Pro Marker watercolors, which I'm not going to be using today, but you've seen me use those Pro Markers before. They're
awesome.
They're awesome.
We have one set.
We have one set to give away. To that, same deal. Write to us, tell us what you want, and we will get it. Okay, so I wanted to talk a bit about art history a little bit. We're gonna get to Kirsten. By the way, Kirsten says, "Is it possible to pay and see a recorded session?" Every single workshop we make, fully recorded, available.
I mean,
not only the next day.
Many people don't attend live.
Lifetime. You have lifetime access to our workshops. Lifetime. Long after I'm gone, you'll be sitting there.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
Well, I don't know how old Kirsten is, but you will be able to watch Mario for. Well, we call it lifetime access, but we never say whose lifetime it is.
Let's just move on. Everybody knows what it means.
Okay.
As long as we're in business.
Let me take a deep breath and move on. Okay. So I want to talk today about. Let's start talking about Impressionists. So here's some of the big heavy hitters in the world of Impressionism. I'm sure you know them all. They are all household names. Do you recognize their faces? Can you put the name to the face? All right, let's start with the first guy. Who is he? I don't see anybody out in the audience raising their hand, so I'll tell you. His name is Pissarro. So, of course, you know Pissarro. And Cam to his friends. Who's number 2? JJ?
No idea.
That's Monet. That's Claude Monet. Number 3?
He kind of looks like Pissarro, like on a happier day.
They've all got the beard going on. So what about number 3?
It's a haunted dude. Toulouse-Lautrec?
Degas.
Degas.
I know. Beautiful eyes. Very nice. Now, what about number 4? A good beard. Good confident look.
Don't know.
Manet.
All
right. Number 5. Who's this? No beard. The only Impressionist without a beard.
She has one on top of her head.
Possibly. And in fact, if you turned her upside down, she would look like Pissarro.
I think everyone's guessing.
Correct. Mary Cassatt.
Ding, ding, ding.
All right.
They are so smart.
All right. Now, who are the 2 guys below? Pretty obvious. Toulouse and, of course, Lautrec, his twin brother. And finally, who's the last guy, who I think has the best face of all of them, and who doesn't look anything like his paintings? There you go. Renoir. So, all right, so it's interesting. Here are these guys, mid to late 19th century, but we have photographs of all of them, okay? They're photographs of all of these great Impressionists. And in some ways, it's the reason I wanted to talk about photography and Impressionism is because, of course, Impressionism is a reaction to photography. It's a reaction to the fact that suddenly painting seemed dispensable. It's kind of a strange thing, like we're going through it now, right this year, in fact, because of the development of artificial intelligence and the fact that things like DALL-E 2 are able to generate amazing artwork from a sentence in a second. I don't know if you know anything about what I'm talking about, but the fact is that artificial intelligence right now on the internet, you can go and type in a sentence and it will generate an incredible photograph. In fact, I had it generating a bunch of pictures of Van Gogh for me, which I forget to share, but I'll show them to you some other time. But similarly, during the late 19th century, there was this kind of crisis, which is, do we need artists anymore when we have photographers? So that is kind of, again, I'm not a giant art historian, but I think that is a really important thing. And it's something to think about ourselves when we make art from photography. What are we to think about? Because now we are, 100, 150 years into the reign of photography, and yet, we're still making art. It's still relevant, but why? What does it mean? Okay, so then there's this fellow. So this was thought for a long time to be the earliest photograph of Vincent Van Gogh. But as it turned out, it's not a photograph of Vincent Van Gogh at all. It was supposed to be him at 13. It turns out it's actually his brother, Theo. This is a later picture of Theo, and art historian said, okay, I guess it's not Vincent. We'll have to, I mean, those piercing eyes were kind of the giveaway.
Oh, Twig.
There's a feral pug behind me getting mad about the leaf blowers, so you might hear some growling. That's not Vincent or Theo. So yeah, here's another picture. For a while, it was thought of a young Vincent. Turns out it's not. Turns out that it is also Theo with a pompadour and no beard. Then this photograph was turned up, and they identified that one of these guys is definitely Gauguin. I think it's probably the guy on the right at the front of the table, on the left, on the front of the table with the mustache. And so they concluded that this was Van Gogh, but it's pretty clear right away that it's not Van Gogh. It doesn't really.
Looks like a jolly little lunch, though.
It does look like a nice. It gives a good impression, as it were.
Oh.
And then they turned up this picture and they said, okay, here's Van Gogh at art school. Now, Van Gogh wasn't at art school for very long, like a few weeks. He certainly wasn't posing for group photos. And also, honestly, does that even, I don't know, maybe you could stretch and say that that's him, but no, it doesn't really look like him at all either. So, moving on. And again, we have images of him from his paintings, and we'll talk about that in a second. But then this photograph turned up, I think it was about a year or two ago. Somebody found this photograph, and they were like, come on, right? I mean, this does look like him, doesn't it?
For sure.
Definitely, I mean, you could totally believe that it's him. And in fact, they went in and they did all this analysis, and they took his self-portrait, and they compared like the shape of his skull and the distance between his eyes and all that, and they were like, "Yup, definitely, this is the first known photo of Van Gogh." But then the more they looked at it, they realized at the bottom there's like a little credit for it was in a little frame, and there's the credit for the photographer, Victor Morin, on the Rue Saint-François. So they're like, okay, great. So that's when he was in Paris. He obviously had his photo taken. Here's the problem. Rue de Saint-François is in Montreal. So this picture is actually Canadian, and Vincent was never obviously in Canada. So not him. Recently, Douglas Cotman, remember Douglas Cotman, the novelist?
Yeah, Gen X.
So he wrote a really famous book called Gen X, but he also has become a sculptor.
Seriously?
Yes, and so he set out to make he makes these big bronze sculptures. And generally what he does is he gets a person, he scans their head with computers and scanners, and then he generates these bronze sculptures. And so he wanted to make a sculpture of Van Gogh, so he did a worldwide search for several months for people to submit pictures of themselves if they think they look like Van Gogh. And a lot of guys did, guys with red beards and the like. And then he ended up selecting this guy. Not bad, right? I mean, this guy looks like you could believe it, particularly with the old blanket around him. And so he scanned the guy's head, and he made this sculpture of Van Gogh without his ear that's pressing his ear to the ground. I don't really know. I don't really fully understand it. I didn't fully understand Douglas Cotman's novels either. But anyway, this is what it's come to. So yes, no photograph. They found out that this is kind of what they think he looks like. Another famous photograph of Van Gogh, but of course it's not a Van Gogh.
Debunked.
So this photograph is of Kirk Douglas, of course, but it's actually like kind of not a bad likeness, when you think about Van Gogh. Certainly, the pose is similar, but even like this is him around that same time. And I found this picture. I hadn't really seen this selfie. He did it apparently on the back of one of his studies for the Potato Eaters, so kind of early. But so there's this photo of this painting of him, which is kind of Kirk Douglasian. And of course, You know, as Helen says here, we don't need a photo because we have his beautiful self-portraits. And it's true, we do.
But we need a photo for today.
We do. So we have lots of his self-portraits. And the thing about them is they are pretty varied. I mean, it's almost like Van Gogh we each have our own Van Gogh, let's say, you know, and you can describe him. I mean, I found this one. I've never seen this before either. Maybe you have, but I thought this is a fairly early one too. Quite beautiful.
Really good.
Yeah, right? So this is the only authenticated photo there is of Van Gogh. This is when he was 19 years old. It was before he was an artist. And he was working in Paris in an art dealership with his brother. And this is him. I mean, this doesn't really jibe with what I think of him.
No, bigger nose.
Right? Kind of fleshy, pudgy. But yeah, obviously a redhead, right? You can tell that. 2% of people are redheads, apparently. And he was one of them. So yeah, there's that. Now, why are there no photographs of Van Gogh? That's kind of what I was thinking about. And here's a couple of clues. So this is a photo of Van Gogh's mother that his brother sent to him. And he did this painting from that. And the fact is, Van Gogh just didn't like photographs. He thought they were... let me read you a quote from him. He wrote to his sister and he said, I myself still find photographs frightful and don't like to have any, especially not of people whom I know and love. Just one of the reasons that he quickly turned that photo of his mother into a painting. He says, these portraits first are faded more quickly than we ourselves, while the painted portrait remains for many generations. Besides, a painted portrait is a thing of feeling made with love or respect for the being represented. What remains to us of the old Dutchman? The portraits. So his objection is, on the one hand, they feel like fleeting. They feel like they just kind of happen. And I don't know, particularly maybe the photographs in the 19th century really were obviously had a different kind of feeling than modern photographs have. But then this thing that he says, a thing of feeling, a painted portrait is a thing of feeling made with love or respect for the being represented. So that's something to think about, which is that really that what he's saying is, I am not trying to just paint a likeness like a camera gives me. I am trying to paint my feelings. And that is really what my goal is. So I want us to think about that. I mean, it's something I certainly talk about a lot here, which is, you know, what are we feeling about, in this case, Vincent van Gogh, you know? So as we're drawing him, let's struggle less to capture his pudginess and redness, and instead, well, maybe we do want to capture his redness. Maybe we do want to capture his pudginess but what is our reaction? Here's a 19-year-old boy, you know, who is yet to make any art, and he's going to spend the next, 10 years struggling before he actually starts to make art. And then the following 10 years, going on an incredible art adventure, and then ultimately dying so young. So I don't think it would make much difference if we did have pictures of Vincent van Gogh. We did have photographs of him. Sorry, I'm just going to bring this light back to me, if you don't mind, so I can have it here. And, let's do some work on him. So let's spend, 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes, just seeing what we think about this image and, seeing how we can capture.
Are you using a fine line or a pencil?
I'm using a Winsor Newton 0.3 fine liner. So. eyes are much darker than his brother's. But I have to kind of convince myself that this is him. You know?
Almost seems like when he painted self-portraits, he was kind of painting his brother.
That's interesting. I mean, I imagine if you're somebody who really wasn't photographed very much.
You probably didn't spend a lot of time looking in the mirror either.
And this is a weird thought, but the guy had a beard. I wonder if that played any part in it, because he didn't have to shave. And he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who probably spent a lot of time washing. What do you think?
I mean, did anybody in that day and age?
That's true also. That's
It was
true.
like once a week you took a dip in the river or something, right?
Dunk yourself in the cow. What is that thing called? The
trough.
Trough. Yeah. So he may, but I imagine, I mean, when he did his paintings, when he painted his self-portraits, I'm sure he had a candle. He had a mirror. No, I'm thinking about that famous scene in Lust for Life where he has the hat with the candles on it. And he, he was painting like well into the night. And so I imagine that of course he had a mirror.
Uh-oh.
Are we getting outrage?
Intruder alert.
Twiggy is not happy.
I'm clamping her down.
What does that nose look like? Does it have any kind of a bridge at all? I mean, maybe his face changed a lot as he got older. It's hard to say.
I mean, he must have lost quite a lot of weight.
You think he was? Yeah, because he went from, being with his
loving mother,
and I'm sure eating well in his Dutch home, to sort of first being a missionary in the coal mines, and I'm sure not eating terribly well. He had no money besides whatever his brother gave him. Yes.
I mean, his eyebrows are like mine, sort of MIA.
No, MIA. Yes. This photo is also not very detailed. Doesn't have not a great quality photo. So you have to kind of make up some stuff. Very full lips. That's not really something I think of him as having either. I mean, look, it's possible this isn't him.
What?
Who knows?
I mean, I thought you said it was authenticated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, it's authenticated to the extent that anything about him is in this way. I mean, generally, the authentication that we have about him comes from like his letters to his brothers and stuff like that. His brother, that's really the main stuff that we know about him is from all those letters. But I don't know. If it turned out it wasn't him, would you be that surprised? Man of mystery?
I mean, I would be that surprised that you spun up this whole episode to say this is the one authentic photo of him.
All right, I'm going to admit it. This is actually my grandfather. No, as far as we know, it's him. I mean, this is what the museum, the official Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam says is the one photo that they accept as being of him. So they're sort of the
Yeah, I think they get to decide.
yeah, they're allowed to pass the word, you know. But I think when you're doing this, you know,
Somebody else just made a thing. Joey says Danny's Vincent is looking like Danny. It does kind of look like you.
right? You know, people have always compared me to Vincent Van Gogh. Not favorably. All of my drawings end up looking like me, unfortunately. It limited my career as a street caricaturist. Well, Van Gogh is somebody who's always meant a lot to me. Obviously, I love his art, but also his story as a self-taught artist. I've just learned a lot from his example of what it is to teach yourself to make art. And, you know, he tried to go the traditional route. He also started much later in life than most artists do with his self-education. And
Started and finished early.
he did. He was done early.
Started late, finished early. Shirley's asking, is this a photo from the Smithsonian Magazine? I think it's a photo from the Van Gogh Museum, right? We don't know. Sorry.
I mean, did the Smithsonian Magazine go to Vincent Van Gogh and take a photograph? I'm not sure what you mean. Was it from there?
Don't know.
No, it's from the Vincent Van Gogh family. Anyway.
Definitely seems like you can have some fun with this hair.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do. It's going to be the sort of Starry Night hairstyle. You know, I mean, if you wanted to make your drawing into some kind of a tribute to Van Gogh, think about that. Like, what would you do? You know, are you doing a painting? Are you doing a drawing? Have you ever looked at Van Gogh's drawings? He did a lot of them. He did a lot of them often with a bamboo or reed pen. And walnut ink, I think. Or maybe it's just faded. That's one of the things that struck me when we went to the Van Gogh Museum a couple years ago. And they had a show about the sunflowers and how faded so much of his paint is. How so many of his colors, when you see them in person, you're like, God, it looks really... Didn't you think that?
No, I mean, they showed a, recreation of what they would have looked like in his time.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were like Technicolor.
I mean, I don't know if he just it was the application of the paint was different, or if the quality. I'm sure the quality of the manufacturing of paint. I don't think he made his own paint. I think by then you didn't have to buy pigment and grind up your own pigment and mix it with binders and do all the other things that artists often have had to do through the centuries. I think you could go to a store and buy tubes of paint, but even so, I don't know that it was necessarily enduring. And I also don't know whether his materials were really of the highest quality, you know. Can't imagine they were. You know, in terms of like how he prepared his canvases. It always seems like he was just, he would knock out so many paintings. How many did he do? Like 1,000 paintings in 10 years. So he was doing a painting every 2 or 3 days, sometimes more than that. So his paintings were probably not, you know, carefully prepared so that they would last forever, because he didn't think anybody wanted them now, let alone in hundreds of years. But
oh, you're taking a little artistic license with that hair there.
you know, it's true. I hope he wouldn't mind. Somebody asked in whether we had gone to that Van Gogh experience.
We did go.
And what did we think?
You know, it's colored by the time in our life, because we signed up for these tickets, and after we got vaccinated, I think it was the first time we went anywhere for, you know, it had been like well over a year. So we were just so happy to go anywhere. And we thought the experience was quite good. The criticism was, I felt it was overpriced for what you got. But that said, we were just completely euphoric.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting experience. I don't think it had anything to do with Vincent Van Gogh. You know, it was wallpaper. It was kind of cool projections, cool technology. But I don't know. It just didn't seem to have anything to do with him. And I can't imagine what he would have thought. It was kind of horrifying in some ways.
What?
Yeah.
That's not what you thought at the time.
Yeah, it is.
It isn't.
I was euphoric, so I didn't say it, but it just feels a bit like, I don't know. Vincent Van Gogh's biography so overshadows, for a lot of people, his work. You know? Don't you think that's true? It's like,
I mean,
he cut his ear
James
off.
Dean. Anybody that dies young is like legendary.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But if we had gone to that, I mean, I think we paid, I'm going to say it was like upwards of $60 each per ticket. It was like quite pricey, and it wasn't very long. But if it had been half that price, we would have been delighted. I just thought it was too expensive.
I was more struck by the gift shop than anything. Where you could buy Vincent Van Gogh, you could buy any one of his paintings on just about any object you could imagine. Umbrellas, dinner placemats, you know.
Yeah, like Christmas wrapping paper.
Christmas wrapping paper. Yeah, so that was interesting. I don't know, maybe you would have liked it.
Yeah. I mean, they have now done them for, I mean, there's one here in Phoenix about Frida Kahlo. I think just opened. I think there might be a Georgia O'Keeffe one. Maybe I saw one about Monet. I mean, that I think is...
I think I'd like to have one done of my work. What do you think? I'm thinking that I can imagine this drawing I'm doing of Vincent Van Gogh right now being projected really large on the walls of a gift shop.
With music.
Yeah. All right, that's my next challenge. The Danny Gregory experience. As you're the one person who's had the Danny Gregory experience 24 hours a day for years, would you sell tickets to it? And what would you charge?
It's almost your birthday, so I'm going to be nice.
It's true. Virginia says, seeing photos of sunflowers is nice. Fields of sunflowers is nice, but animating the crows in the wheat field is just over the top. Yeah. That Crows in a Wheat Field painting is the one that they always say that he was, at least in the Lust for Life, they say that he was painting it like the day that he shot himself. So
that's why the crows flew away.
that's what they do in the movie. Gunshot.
Twiglets. My goodness.
I'm having to add some more tone to this because there's just so little here. It's like
Are you going to use color today?
there's a little bit of time. I guess I could add a bit of.
Oh, Twiglet. Oh, Twiglet. Oh.
Yeah, I'm just going to add a bit of colored pencil. What color were his eyes? I don't know.
They have to be blue.
You think so?
Yeah.
Not green?
Oh, sometimes blue eyes look like green eyes. I don't know. It's hard to say.
What about in his paintings?
I mean, I guess they're kind of light green, would you say? I don't know. You're always telling me that I think those things that I say are green or blue, and things that I say are blue or green. I think I'm not the one to ask.
Blue. I'm looking at his self-portraits. They're blue. Blue. Definitely blue. All right.
That's what I thought.
Go with blue.
Oh my god.
What is that noise?
She's rubbing on the microphone. I mean, she's really kind of spicy this morning. Yeah.
Twiglet is going through a feral stage.
It's been so
like having a wild
hot
animal.
here, and she's not getting enough exercise. She's still a puppy.
So it's like a
She
wild.
doesn't care for swimming. What is she into now? No.
Yeah, try to have her not unplug the computer.
Well, she's.
I'm not displeased by this drawing.
I mean, was he an alcoholic?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I think he did not drink because there's stories about him being drunk, but no, I don't think he was an alcoholic. I think he had the money to be an alcoholic. What about absinthe? All right, it is what it is. All right. Reasonable.
People are asking about these
Diane's saying he has green eyes. I just looked at
colored
several.
pencils.
I just
Do
looked at
you
several.
want to
of his
show
boxes.
the colored pencil a little bit so people can see?
Yeah, so these are Winsor Newton colored pencils. And I think they're great. They're creamy, they cover well, they have great colors. And I have...
Okay, are they water soluble?
The watercolor pencils are water soluble.
That's not what you're using today.
I'm not. I'm using... Because I'm working in this... in this nostalgie, which is not really good for water stuff. It's not meant for that. It's meant for dry materials, really. So I'm using regular colored pencils. Yeah. Good. You need an art daddy to give you pencils? No. Don't ask other people to buy your art supplies. Go and buy your own.
What?
I think you should buy your own art supplies.
I think art supplies make fantastic gifts.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that what you asked for your birthday?
Yeah, but I don't think it's right. I think you should buy your own art supplies because as an artist, they're not toys. It should be something you invest in yourself. But who knows? I'm a curmudgeon. Yeah, he has sort of a kind of a modern look to him now. With his hair. He could have been in a boys band or...
I mean, if it was a modern day subject, he'd have a big bushy beard.
That's true.
And he'd be making pickles in Brooklyn. And
That's true.
drinking artisanal.
He'd have a neck tattoo at least. At least one. Alrighty, there we go. There you have it, Vincent Van Gogh.
I really like what you came up with here today. There were moments back in the fine liner stage when I thought you had veered off track.
I live off track. Well, good. Well, that was fun. Any final thoughts?
His tattoo would be a crow.
Oh.
How about that? People do seem to like to get birds tattooed.
What about a sunflower?
Interesting.
Keep fiddling with this drawing later on. Good. Well.
So do you want to remind people to share their drawings so we can make
I desperately
pre-roll film for next week?
I desperately want to do that. I want to see your Vincents. And I would like you to share them, if you wouldn't mind, on social media. That is to say, on Facebook, on Instagram. People have recently been emailing me them quite a lot, and it's
okay. Email them, but don't
It's
email
fine.
them to Danny. Danny's inbox is a very wild and woolly place. Send them
email
to
them to-
info@sketchbookschool.com.
okay. Do that, yeah. But better than doing that.
Not everybody has social media. Look, I think anybody that has social media is going to post it, right? Can we?
If you're not on the internet,
Well, the email goes through the internet.
if you're not on the internet and you would like to mail it to us,
Oh, somebody sent us snacks.
oh yeah, somebody
Somebody
sent
sent us snacks in the mail.
Yeah, that was good. That was very good.
Yeah, that was really nice. I think they were plantain chips. Who sent those?
Going back to what we were talking about. So yes, so share them with us. Share them on social media, and if you do, please put hashtag SBS draw with me.
Yeah, that way we can find them.
That way we can find them. So we go out and we look across the internet to anything that's called hashtag SBS draw with me, and we gather it together, and then we'll show it next week. So next week we'll have a cavalcade of 19-year-old Vincent Van Goghs, or others. If you wanted to do an aged Vincent Van Gogh, if you wanted to do a hipster Vincent Van Gogh, if you wanted to do Vincent Van Gogh as he might look today, or Vincent Van Gogh as he might look if he had lived as long as Monet, then by all means, whatever you want to do. And then what else? The Art for All podcast is coming back in a revised form. We're still working on it. It's quite a lot of work to launch a new season, but we are working on it, and it will happen soon, and that will be great.
You have had less than a full voice for about 2 weeks.
It's true. I didn't want to have like a sort of weird, stuffy, So my voice is coming back, and with it the podcast, but it's going to have a lot of really interesting people on it. And I've been talking to people, and a lot of people really want to do it with me, so that's going to be cool. But meanwhile, you can subscribe. There's 61 episodes that we've already made, so feel free to listen to those in the meantime, wherever you get podcasts. Don't forget, if you would like the Hahnemühle Nostalgie, or you'd like the Winsor Newton watercolor markers, write to us at info@sketchbookschool.com, only if you have a U.S. mailing address. If you'd like to subscribe to my essays, please do. I write one every Friday. I also write one on Tuesday, but the one that you will get immediately is the one I write tomorrow if you sign up today, dannysessays.com. You'll also get a free little book of some stuff that I wrote. So why not do that? dannysessays.com. Is there anything else that we wanted to talk about?
No.
Don't forget about Mario's workshop, which is
September 17th.
September 17th, but you can learn about it at sketchbookschool.com. I think we also, down below in the video on YouTube, we will also be sharing a link to it. But sign up. It's actually priced lower than we used to price workshops. We've actually lowered our prices. Pretty amazing, right? Inflation doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. There's no inflation here at sketchbookschool.com. In fact, there's deflation. The prices have descended. The time and length of the workshop has grown.
It's an experiment, but we need more people to sign up.
We want you to join us. We
make it so that we can keep offering a lower price.
Yes,
so there you go.
Yeah, Mario is a real find for us, and we want as many people as possible to come and learn from him. And even if you just come for the watching experience and you don't feel like you're ready to do it, come watch him do it, and then one day you'll be ready and you'll have your lifetime access to it. So.
All right, should we wrap it up?
Wrapping it up. All right. So there you go. There's all the stuff. Boy, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. And we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, Thursday. Same time, same place.
Same bat channel. Bye.